This is the Right Guys podcast. It's Wednesday, and we got two right thumbs hitchhiking down the road of democracy. And now your hosts, Max McGuire and Josh Hammerlin.
I didn't hate that one.
Hey, I came up with that one. We hated all the others.
No. When you started with the two right thumbs of democracy, I didn't know where you were going with that. I didn't hate that.
I didn't know either. That was the problem. I didn't know either.
It might be time for us to settle on one.
It may be, but you never know what you're going to get. I mean, we do it for the listeners. So
yeah,
those of you tuning in, hi, welcome to another one.
Well, today's a good day.
Yeah.
Kevin McCarthy no longer is the Speaker of the House. Removed yesterday, 8 Republicans, joined by Democrats, voted to remove him as Speaker of the House. It's amazing when you look at the media. The media says GOP removes Speaker of the House. When in reality, it was only 8 Republicans. It was almost all Democrats. So to see Democrats out there saying, oh, the Republicans are in disarray. Republicans.
Yeah.
Well, on the one hand, McCarthy didn't have the votes to survive. But on the other hand, it was majority Democrats that voted to oust him.
200.
I was shocked. I thought that they'd want to keep him because as much as he isn't a Democrat, he's far from a conservative in terms to actually governing. I mean, listen, I like Kevin McCarthy more than a lot of these people, more than the John Boehners and the Paul Ryans of the world. I thought that he was a little bit further right than them.
Okay.
But what we've seen the last 2 years, he wasn't willing to stand up for anything.
No.
Right? At the end of the day, when push came to shove, the Democrats got what they wanted. And it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Look, Max, this guy was a guy that had to politic his way into getting the gavel. 15 votes. I mean, how many deals were made to get that done? Those 8 that didn't want him, 5 of those voted no. So a little bit of revenge, right, on that side. And nobody wanted him there in the first place, I think, right? I think on both sides. Democrats, they're lockstep. They don't care. They just want the GOP to look bad. They got it. Yeah. They got their headlines, right? They got their headlines. Perfect for them. And now you've got somebody who might be willing to step into the position that hardlines so they could create a new set of headlines, right? Yeah. Now they're going so hard to the right here that for what's going on. There's so much politicking going on here, and who do you think it's going to be? I mean, who's?
Well, I have a short list.
Yeah,
you have a short list. Before we get to the short list, I saw this video, and it just perfectly, in my opinion, encapsulated my feelings after Kevin McCarthy was removed. Is it okay if I just share it real quick?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Let's.
It's kind of a surprise. I don't like it when you do these things. Like,
you
got me once last week, and now you got this one. Let's see what happens. This will be fun.
I don't know what happened to it. Where'd it go?
It's there. It's there. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. No. See? Oh. They're dead.
Wait for it. Here comes a. You've never seen that meme before? You've never seen that?
Flow. No.
This guy's all over TikTok. That gets made for all different situations. I liked it because it really, if I had those moves, I'd be danced out in front of the Capitol. Be careful though.
You could try it.
You might find your way into the DC gulag if you get too close to the Capitol dancing.
Yeah.
Can't have people exercising their First Amendment rights in the people's house. No.
I thought it was going to be a different video altogether. I mean, wow. It kind of grabs you on a Wednesday when you get to see some flow. No, that's not me.
All right. Well, why don't we go back and forth? I have some ideas for who should be Speaker of the House. You have some ideas for who should be Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Why don't we go back and forth and talk about some of these? Because I think there's a couple that are the obvious choices. There's a couple pie in the sky, and there's a few that I think would just be incredibly humorous if they actually did it. And just as a reminder to everyone, there is no requirement that the Speaker of the House be a member of Congress. The Speaker of the House can be any American. So just, it can be anyone.
I'm ready for that. I mean,
right?
that'd be pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, people think it has to come from a member of Congress. It doesn't.
no.
So it was designed that way so that if the Congress wanted to have a non-congressman speaker, they could. And given how just disjointed everything is, given how distrusting I am, at least personally, towards members of Congress on the GOP and the Democrats, I think that the American people would be best served, truly best served, if a non-politician, a non-congressman filled this role. Because otherwise, you're going to be like a Nancy. Yeah.
Have a normal person in the people's house, but no one would ever. I mean, they can't even agree of what decorum should be inside the Senate chambers, let alone anything else, right?
Oh,
but,
Mandy just said in the YouTube comments that she felt the same. I guess referring to that fabulous dancer. Yeah, no, that's why I had to share it because it's don't even try and you can't do it. I can't do it. Let's just be honest.
Oh, I'm trying. No flow. Not enough flow.
No,
I'm trying. Okay, actually, I got nothing. So who do you have? We were both worried we might have like the same person for a moment.
I know.
We were talking. I was like, "Don't you take my guy? Don't you take my guy?" It was funny. I mean, I picked some funny ones. I picked some real ones too, just because, Well,
let's go through our list. Okay. So my first name is Adam Johnson, the man who carried Nancy Pelosi's lectern out of the building.
Bravo.
I think if anyone should be Speaker of the House, given how everything has gone to shit, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to choose anyone, it should be the man who the first time he stepped in the building took the lectern away from Nancy Pelosi.
I love that one.
Right? Like, this is a man.
And he posed for a photo. I'm loving this. This is perfect.
This is a man who had one chance to do anything he wanted, basically, in the Capitol building, and he chose to make it so Nancy Pelosi couldn't do whatever she wanted. Wow. I think it's fantastic. I vote for Adam Johnson, lectern guy. He has my vote. I think he would be perfect.
I don't think I can compete with that now.
Just imagine the C-SPAN footage of him walking in with a lectern.
Right. Maybe give him like a small one that he could just sit on the thing on the lectern right before he talks.
It's a comeback story.
Oh. God, I'd love to VO that opening, right? Born in a town.
Well, that was my first. Why don't we go to? Why don't you share your screen?
And
I think I have to remove mine.
I think this one here hit me right before we went to the air, and I was like, "Yeah, that guy might actually do it." That's Jim Caviezel.
Oh yeah,
great actor. He was in and the name of the new movie escapes me. The Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom.
Right? Sound of Freedom. Is in that role. I mean, he was in Passion of the Christ. He's been a method actor, totally removed from Hollywood because he's kind of that counterculture. He's a religious person, and I think that he could be one person that a lot of people could get behind and say, you know what, he would make a good Speaker of the House.
This is interesting because usually I don't want Hollywood actors to have anything to do with the levers of power because they all try and impose their beliefs on us. Right? That's part of being in Hollywood. This is interesting because the more I think about it, all of the politicians are acting anyway. They're bullshitting us anyway. They're lying to our faces anyway. So at least in this situation, I think you get someone who'd be far more likely to be honest because he has to act in his day job, comes here, moonlights as Speaker of the House. I think he'd probably want to be more honest than not.
That'd be your tie-breaking vote, man.
On
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right. Let me get my screen off of there.
All right. You're removed.
I'm removed. There we go.
All right. This next person, I think you and I could get behind him. Josh, what is the number one issue coming out of 2020 that still hasn't really been dealt with?
COVID?
No, the election.
Oh, that's right.
And I think if we're going to move forward as a country, we really need an election integrity expert. So my vote is behind Joel. I listen, in terms of let's burn the place down. Listen, I'm all for it. Let's see what happens.
It would be a.
You didn't see this choice coming.
I didn't see this one coming. I didn't think I was going to have to make comment on this one. What I would say is that it would be the greatest TV we had watched in C-SPAN. Since it's been out.
Yeah.
I would say that it would be exciting. it would be interesting and jaw dropping.
That's my burn it all down. That's my burn it all down.
All right. Well, this next one, really, I thought about somebody who, is at least really good at getting groups working together. Really trying to bring order to the world. And I was thinking Cobra Commander.
Oh, so we're just going with made up people now.
No, I'm sorry. Is this guy made up? I'm sorry. I made that. So I was thinking.
I choose Captain America. Like, come on.
That was next.
Oh, that's your next choice?
It was, but actually, I was going to put good old Jimmy Jordan up there, but I had that in the back pocket.
Let's just do like Jesus. Let's just do Jesus.
Can we? We'll vote him. No, I want to switch that one out. But Jim Jordan, right? Let me actually put that one up there. He's the flavor right now that everybody.
Yeah,
wants.
I think it's got to be him.
He's got. I think he's got enough of the chops.
I've got him
to get this through. Do you? Okay, yeah. Because he's kind of. Part of me thinks that he can be kind of hardline, especially on the GOP side. But maybe some of that hardlining is what they need. What you need is a house that's not divided, right? And he's the one that hopefully could bring some of those larger groups together.
Yeah.
Are you furiously telling me that Cobra Commander doesn't count? Because if that comes up in my little message down here, I'm going to be pissed.
No. I was Mandy. I saw in the YouTube comment section says, no, Joe. I said, don't worry, it's just a joke. Listen, I think Jim Jordan's probably going to get it. I think if you need someone who is going to be able to straddle the fence and have 1 foot in the conservative camp, 1 foot in the moderate right of center, or even left of center camp, I think Jim Jordan has positioned himself really well. Now, personally, I don't like some of the steps he's taken. I don't like when someone who's otherwise one of my heroes in Congress, you see him start getting more moderate. But it was very clear he had to do that to get the position in the hierarchy that he wanted to get. I don't think he's a lost cause. Like when I see him out there supporting McCarthy, I don't think that he has completely abandoned where he came from, right? Same with like Marjorie Taylor Greene. You look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, she did a lot of things to get favor from Kevin McCarthy. Now, in fairness, probably wasn't worth it. When all is said and done, probably wasn't worth doing it. But she felt that was what she needed to do to get in a position in the Republican caucus where she actually get things done.
Sure.
Right? Which is fair. I mean, we see a lot of congressmen and senators who spend the entirety of their time in Congress not really doing anything, just talking and advancing narratives. Obviously, they're representing their constituents, right? But they never really introduce legislation, never work on amendments, never have any power in committee processes. That kind of behind the scenes stuff isn't particularly sexy, but it's important if you actually want to get the work done. Which is why I've always liked Matt Gaetz, because not only is he out in front doing talk show interviews, right, putting out sound bites, but he has also played a huge role in committees. That's why I like Jim Jordan, because while the committees that he was involved in didn't always get the results that we wanted, I trust him as someone who understands the importance of investigations and getting to the bottom of things. So I think Jim Jordan is probably going to be him. And I believe he said he's running.
Yeah, I think his hat's in the ring. The other thing is that if something were to happen, if something were to happen, God forbid, to the president or vice president, this is the next person in line for the presidency. Yeah. Do you see him being president? And the answer is I do. Yeah. Right? I see him acting presidential. I see him acting as a president, making hard choices.
And I would trust him to make those choices.
I would too. He's been a real stalwart for a long time for conservative causes and the United States. I think he would make the best choices for the people.
Now, he isn't perfect. Again, he isn't perfect.
No.
But the old rule, the Ronald Reagan rule, I follow it. If you agree with someone 80% of the time, they're 80% your ally, not 20% your enemy. Now, it's up to all of us to decide where we think that divider should be. But I don't think Jim Jordan is anywhere near the 50-50 mark. He is far more conservative than he is establishment, in my opinion.
Sure, yeah.
But listen, the longer someone's in Washington, the more comfortable they get and the more they start drifting towards that establishment. So I don't know. I trust him right now, and he didn't want to run last time. I think he's seen the chaos that just ensued, and I think he recognizes that it should be him. And frankly, I like the idea of having someone in the speakership who just a short while ago vehemently didn't want it. Like, I like the idea of reluctant leadership because those people are far less likely to be corrupted, far less likely to abuse their power if they really don't want to get into it. The least trustworthy of all the people are these politicians who have been groomed for decades to be in this position, right? Like Kevin McCarthy. How long have we heard Kevin McCarthy was going to be the next speaker? Mm-hmm. How long do you think he's heard that? Right? Steve Scalise. I like Steve Scalise on a lot of things, but you hear the same thing about him. Oh, he's the next majority leader. Like, oh, it's going to be him. You know what I mean? So I'm very hesitant to support people who the very politicians who I oppose, right? The establishment types. I don't support the nominees that the establishment has been pushing for years, right? I can't get behind that.
It's funny because I had Scalise, I had it queued up.
And I like him. Yeah. I like him.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
He got shot
sure.
for his constituents.
And that's what I was going to say is that, he took a bullet.
You gotta put it up on
a bullet for the cause.
Yeah.
Right. As you're mentioning that, yeah, he's made some deals, but this could be the next Speaker of the House. So if he's there, I mean, this is the person we're going to rely on. Do I think he has it?
I'm
how
not
many
against
votes do you think it's going to take this time? You know what I mean? If it took 15 from McCarthy, how many is it going to take this time?
I'm not against the idea of Steve Scalise. Like, I'm not like, I haven't heard so much that I'm like, absolutely not. Kevin McCarthy, I was an absolutely not. Paul Ryan, I was an absolutely not. John Boehner, I was an absolutely not.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, I'm not absolutely not, but he wouldn't be my first at all.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be my first choice. But right now it's just him and Jim Jordan. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a race to see one of two things. Which one of them drops out first, and which one of them potentially gets Democrat votes. Because if you're a Democrat, I mean, just imagine this, you're a Democrat and it's Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise, and imagine a world where they're polling even. As a Democrat, which would you rather have as the speaker?
Scalise. All the way.
Scalise, right? And that troubles me. I would like there to be two options that no Democrat could ever fathom supporting, but I don't think it's controversial to say whatsoever that the average Democrat would prefer Steve Scalise over Jim Jordan. I think that's really fair. But it's up to them. So it's going to be which one of them drops out first and which one of them can potentially get Republican support. Because as of right now, if it's just Republicans voting, I don't see how first ballot there's a winner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think Steve Scalise has those 8.
And I wonder if they probably already, I've got to imagine they've been talking already. Yeah. I mean, who's going to be the first to throw the support behind the other? I think this comes down to a gentleman's handshake behind closed doors to see who it is, since I really feel like they're the two front runners. And one's going to have to throw the support behind the other, because right now you've got a group, like your whole party looks like it's a mess, right? As my wife would love to say, it's a hot mess. And it's true. It's an East Coaster thing from what I hear. It's a hot mess, Max.
It's a hot mess. But you know what? A little bit of this is healthy. A little bit of chaos is healthy. And let's be completely honest. Sure, Kevin McCarthy is the first Speaker of the House to be removed. But he is not the first Republican Speaker of the House who should have been removed. Like, John Boehner should have been removed. Paul Ryan should have been removed. The difference is, in order to get the majority vote, in order to become Speaker, Kevin McCarthy had to make deals like you're just talking about with those handshake deals. And one of those handshake deals was he had to lower the threshold necessary to basically call for the Speaker's head to initiate what essentially is a no confidence vote. a motion to vacate the chair. Previously, Nancy Pelosi, when she came in, she made it nigh impossible to vacate the chair. Well, that means you have the Speaker of the House in power for 2 years, no matter what, right? Paul Ryan didn't make it as difficult, but he made it more difficult. Like the Freedom Caucus couldn't have gathered together and removed Paul Ryan. You need a little bit more than that. And John Boehner, same deal. So they all made but John Boehner, Paul Ryan made the same kind of deals that Kevin McCarthy made. And the biggest deal was that they promised not to push through spending legislation with majority Democrat support. And that falls back to an old rule called the Hastert rule. And that's the idea that if you're in the majority, bills shouldn't pass unless they have support from the majority of the majority. Like, what's the point of having a Republican Speaker of the House if the only reason the bill passes is because every Democrat votes for it, right? You know what I mean? Like that's the logic behind that. So John Boehner made that promise. He broke it when it came to spending bills. Paul Ryan made that promise. He broke it when it came to spending bills. Now you have Kevin McCarthy make the same promise. And whether or not he broke it or not, technically in terms of majority, he just pushed through that spending bill. And he only got through because of the Democrats. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's the first Speaker of the House to be removed from power. Fine. Other ones should have. And the only reason that they weren't is that conservatives in Congress didn't have the leverage to enforce the promises that they made. Like, I'm still waiting for the John Boehner promise that if the court struck down DACA, the Obama's Dreamer amnesty, John Boehner said, if the appeals court strikes it down, we will strike it down in Congress. Well, it just got struck down this past month. And notice not a single Republican is actually enforcing that promise. In fact, the establishment wants to make it law now. Mm. So I'm tired of the broken promises. I'm tired of the bullshit promises. And if this is what it takes to enter an era where we actually start enforcing the promises and taking scalps when people violate and break those promises, I'm all for it.
How many years have Republicans just pissed away their power to appease the other side?
Yeah.
Especially in the House. And they were up against a debt ceiling that was pivotal, right? Because you're talking about the largest deficit ever, highest inflation ever. It was time to start cutting back. Our politicians know that this is not attainable. We cannot spend $30 trillion. What's it going to be in another year? $40 trillion, $60 trillion, $70 trillion. I mean, is there no number they're willing to put on the credit card? You know what I mean? And it can't change until legislation can be passed that can make its way through it. And the Speaker of the House has to be strong with their caucus to make that happen. They just do, right? You've got to, if you've got the majority, you use it. You just don't go to the other side and play nice softball with them. It's always about work with the other side, Use your majority. That's the reason we vote for you. Use your power.
Yeah. Well, did you see what Joe Biden said? I didn't pull the clip because I don't want to listen to him. But what Joe Biden said is he's concerned that Kevin McCarthy is out because he's worried that might put Ukraine funding at risk. Well, every Democrat just voted to remove him, so they obviously don't care about it that much.
Yeah.
But I found it interesting because it's not correct to say that McCarthy and the establishment accomplished nothing with their majority. They got what they wanted. The problem is they didn't actually want border security. They didn't actually want to stop the drugs from pouring in, right? They didn't actually want to do any of the conservative planks of the party platform. They wanted Ukraine funding, right? They wanted the Ukraine funding to get pushed through. And this is the age-old story, right? It might not have been Ukraine funding, but before, you look at Boehner or Ryan or even McCarthy year one, the priorities were, we need defense spending. Mm-hmm. Well, that's all Ukraine funding is. We're not actually giving Ukraine money. We're giving them a little bit of money. Most of what we're giving them is material, weapons systems, equipment. And we say, don't worry, it's all old gear that we don't need anymore. Well, what do you think happens if we give them every single artillery shell that we have? Well, we have to build more artillery shells.
Right. Or we run out.
Yeah. So who benefits from that? The same defense contractors that were prioritized the last time we were in a spending battle. right? So they care about the same people every time. Oh, you have increased defense spending, and that is the old fear, right? The military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about on his way out the door. You can see it right in front of you. This is it. These people don't love Ukraine. They love the defense contractors and the lobbyists who take them to fancy dinners and on nice vacations. That's who they support. Mm-hmm. And they do it every year. This year it just happens to be under the banner of Ukraine.
It's dirty. It feels scuzzy. And many years ago, you would have been a conspiracy theorist, right? I mean, that's what they would label you as, but they're there. They're the ones getting the money. It's not like they're hiding it anymore.
Yeah.
This isn't like this is backdoor deal. I mean, it's what leads. Well, when are we finally going to have a leader that's like, why don't we just put the money back in, pick something in the U.S., right? Roads, bridges, infrastructure, water, electricity, a hardened grid.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. We have
we have to harden Ukraine's grid.
If it's so important there, why aren't we doing it here, Max?
Listen, well, one of the things that pushed me out the door out of Conservative Daily was disagreements with Joe over Ukraine issues, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I still believe that Russia has no business invading Ukraine.
Sure.
None. Because Russia does this every couple of years. They look at their neighbor and they say, we don't think you should be an independent country anymore. We think you should be Russia. And the people in that country who like Russia say, yes, we agree. And then they have a bullshit poll. And then Russia says, oh, look, they all voted to join us. Mm-hmm. And that's it, right? So at some point, you have to stop that. That can't just be the way international diplomacy, international relations works. You can't. Honestly, did we win the Cold War if Russia's allowed to do this? The answer is no.
Woo,
but seriously, the answer is no.
Yeah.
No one denies that Putin's trying to rebuild the Soviet Union of states. No one's denying it. Mm-hmm. So I don't support that at all. I absolutely have always supported Ukraine's ability to defend themselves. But let's call a spade a spade. They are writing checks that they have no intention of ever cashing. They have no intention of ever cashing. I mentioned the artillery shells. Ukraine is shooting off somewhere around 6,000 artillery shells every single day. Do you know that?
That's a lot of ordnance. That's a lot of tonnage. That's a lot of tonnage.
Josh, how many artillery shells do you think the United States can produce in a month?
Only a couple 100,000, maybe. Million?
No.
Less than that?
Less than that.
Seriously? Like, I felt like if I was president, I'd be like, can we make 100,000 of these a day?
Look at this way. Okay. All of Europe combined can only produce 200,000 a year.
Oh my
God!
God.
This is a difficult process, right?
Yeah.
You're building an artillery shell. We're not talking about going in your garage and reloading ammunition on an ammunition press. We're talking about pounds of explosives. It's not something it's very easy to do.
Hard to source.
And very, very regulated too.
Yeah.
So if the entire EU can only produce 200 some odd thousand, how many do you think we can produce in a month?
I'm worried. 5,000. I'm like,
it's a little bit more. The numbers I've seen, it's between 20 and 30,000 in a month.
That wouldn't keep up with demand. We'd be in a negative in no time at 6,000 rounds a day. I mean, where are they getting all those rounds from?
So the U.S. can manufacture 28,000 shells a month. So I was right, between 20 and 30,000. I'm sorry, the United States. The United States can produce that much.
Yeah.
Ukraine is firing them off 6,000 a day. They say they need to shoot 10,000 shells a day to win the war. We've already given them 2 million artillery shells.
It's going to take 20 years.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Right? So we are building up our own capacity just to give it to them. But right now, as it stands right now, they are firing more artillery shells in a 5-day period than we can generate in 30 days.
This is an everyday war.
Yes. So
everyday war.
Realistically, realistically, if you have no artillery shells and you have no capacity to build your own artillery shells, you should not be waging a war based on the ability to fire artillery shells. Especially not firing 6,000 a day.
6,000 a day.
They're literally writing checks they have no intention of ever cashing. And then Zelensky comes here in his little hobo suit, whatever it is, his little fatigues, and he says, please, little Oliver Twist, please, sir, can I have some more?
More?
Yeah. But that's, and then we play this game over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But like, this isn't actually helping Ukraine. We are literally pissing this money away. We send them these artillery shells. They're literally just blowing it up.
What if we need 2 million artillery shells?
If we have to give them money, how about we take the machinery and give it to them and say, okay, make your own artillery shells. Figure it out.
Good luck.
Or a lend-lease program like the British had. Now, we never really called back most of that.
Right? Yeah.
We never really called back most of it. But a lot of the weapons did come back to us. And they went to like the CMP and people bought them.
Yeah.
We didn't really call back a lot of the debt because like, hey, you're our friend.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to destroy you. So we kind of waved off a lot of it. It did take a lot of the guns and tanks and things back. Why aren't we doing that with Ukraine?
Well, where are these weapons going once they get into the field and enter in?
Like if we're going to give, we're literally giving them, we're giving them the store. And there is no expectation of anything. There's no, you owe us interest. Like, at least, like, give them credit. George W. Bush and Donald Rumsfeld didn't hide the fact that they were going into Iraq for oil. Like, they didn't really hide that. Sure, it's all of the weapons of mass destruction. We knew why Iraq was a geopolitical, like a country that needed some calm. They needed some freedom, Josh, and we knew why. It was because of that black gold under the ground, right?
Yeah, lifeblood of the economy.
And the Bush administration got nothing but heat from the liberals. Oh, you just want the oil. You just want the oil. Well, we're doing the same thing now. Thank goodness no American lives, other than the ones that were stupid enough to go over there. But we don't even want the minerals.
We're not getting.
We don't even want their mineral rights. Call me old-fashioned, but if we're going to go into debt, trillions into debt, something. Let's get something.
Nothing puts you in a debt faster than a war and really bad politicians. I mean, It's a perfect combination for spending away everything that you've ever had. I know, like in a business, it'd be like, there's no ROI on this, Max.
No.
There's no ROI on this. There's nothing.
I can understand the argument that if you see the trajectory, you can read the room. You see that this isn't going to be the last time Russia does this, right?
No.
So I can understand the like poli-sci argument that if we can throw Russia's army into the meat grinder in Ukraine, then Russia is going to be less able to do this again, right? If we make this into their modern day Afghanistan, 21st century Afghanistan for them, and make it so expensive in terms of cost, but also the lives, they'll stop, right? I mean, I can understand that rationale, but I'm sorry, we can't give away our future generations' financial future, like the ability to exist, because we want to kill a bunch of Russian soldiers who are being thrown onto the battlefield against their will. Right? I mean, like if you take the human element out of it, I can understand. If this is a game of Risk, Josh, and me and you are playing Risk, all day long I try and entrap your army in eastern Ukraine and just bomb the hell out of it. Right? Take the humans out of it, it makes complete sense, right? But when you bring in the financial aspect of how much money we're giving them, and this isn't our money. We're paying interest on this money.
Oh, yeah. To the tunes of trillions of dollars. I mean, when you have that many zeros, interest collects fast. I mean, it's going to take 20 generations to pay this back.
And more terrifying, our rate of borrowing money is now rising far faster than our GDP.
Why don't we just stop? cut spending, let the default happen, and then force a negotiation. That is what I would do.
Yeah, that was the Trump thing.
I think that was this last play. I think it was they wanted to force a default.
It works in Atlantic City Casino. It doesn't work. It's the whole country. Well, I mean, it could. It's possible.
It's the only way you'll get the other side of the negotiating table. It has to come to default, and you have to make them look like they're the ones that didn't want to go for it. And then you just hammer that forever.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's imagine we default.
Okay.
As a country.
Okay.
Our creditors, who predominantly us, most of the debt is held by us. Creditors get pennies on the dollar, and then day one of absolving that debt, where does the money come from? Who lends to the United States on day one after every creditor just got shafted?
Nobody does, really. I mean, no one. No one, right? That's
the chaos. That's the chaos I don't want to see. That's like you think about, like, everyone's saying, oh man, they're gonna do the emergency test on the phone and we're all gonna turn into zombies. We're not zombies. That test was annoying. I got 3 of them, 2 of them in Spanish. Did you get them today?
I got 1. Yeah.
Oh no, they sent me 3. A little excessive. But you want to talk about real, like, collapse? The United States does not generate income fast enough and frequently enough to pay its bills.
Yeah.
Like for all the problems that I have with the spending out of control, they're putting it on the credit card because they don't have the cash on hand right now. Now, a really smart way to do it would be to pay off the credit card. They're doing it with no intention of ever paying off the credit card. Now, it would be very chaotic.
But
it probably is going to have to happen eventually.
But the alternative is to have a continuing resolution for the next forever. I mean, it's just gone forever this way. So, I mean, it goes up to 100 million, which it will happen by default down the road. It either happens then or now. It's inevitable. Yeah. I mean, it's just all. Do we want it during our lifetimes? Maybe, because that way we can be the ones that actually fix it.
Yeah. No, it's unavoidable. We're not gonna pay this money off. I think we know that.
So what does it look like when they have to negotiate this? The next day, suddenly everyone will have to start negotiating something. They will have to start slashing budgets. They will have to get rid of things. Now, that the unintended consequences. Imagine all those people that are going to be put out of work if you're a government employee, and they're gonna slash art first. They're gonna slash everything. low hanging.
After World War II, the industrial might of the United States, we could have done something like this and probably would have been fine, because if we weren't producing the world's goods, they didn't get them, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're at the point where the United States is predominantly a consumer economy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but you can't make it here.
Well, you can, but it's just not predominantly what we do. It's I don't know. It's just scary.
We can make it, but we just don't have it set up right. It would be a long lag until it got built up. So we were doing it home. It would take time. But we're
flip side of that.
Just for that,
Flip side of that is, if we were unable to consume, then the producers all around the world would lose money too, right? They have an interest.
Like a worldwide catastrophe.
They have an interest in keeping us alive and keeping us fat. Absolutely. I don't know. It's just we're getting too far into the weeds on it, but it scares me. It scares me.
Yeah.
And when you see that no one in power at all. Did I play the Matt Gaetz video yet?
No, I want to see that. Like, that one's
fun. He talked about this yesterday. And first we'll do the speech, and then we'll look at Rashida Tlaib oohing and eyeing over him. This is Matt Gaetz, part of his speech before the House, talking about how they are literally giving away our children and grandchildren's future.
When it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations. I'll be happy to fund my political operation through the work of hardworking Americans, $10 and $20 and $30 at a time, and you all keep showing up at the lobbyist fundraisers and see how that goes for you. I reserve.
Listen,
wow, he's telling the truth.
say what you want. We're all thinking it. I laughed when the news broke last week that Matt Gaetz was going to try and remove McCarthy. There was also this other story forming that McCarthy was going to remove Matt Gaetz and kick him out of Congress completely. I mean, they might still have those votes after that. You can only savage your colleagues so much before they say, "Okay, get this guy out of here." But he's speaking the truth.
He is. And you know why everybody in the room was uncomfortable? Because it's true. You could see people sitting there going, "Yeah, he's right.
Yeah,
you funded my whole thing, some X and Y company, right?" It's because it's true.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of gross. I mean, it's more than gross. It's destroying our country. But he's right. But yeah, if they want to get rid of him, they'll. You really think they could? You think they got those votes so that they could make that happen?
If they make, there's an ethics investigation going into Matt Gaetz right now. Remember those old claims that the FBI looked into that he was underage sex trafficking, bogus stuff.
Yeah.
Now I don't think Matt Gaetz does himself any favors. Last time I was at CPAC, he was palling around with very attractive women on each arm. Listen, it's who he is. It's fine. He doesn't do himself any favors being that out and open with his dating life. But I will tell you though, Josh, you know I want nothing but the best for you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
And unless someone's one of those enemies I talked about last time that I want mediocrity, I hope that everyone finds love in their life. Yeah. And I hope that at the end of the day, we all find someone who looks at them the way Rashida Tlaib looks at Matt Gaetz' ass.
Or a series of minibuses that won't these disparate things together. The American people want all of us.
Oh, and everyone listen to the audio edition. Rashida Tlaib, the brother lover herself, looking at Matt Gaetz up to down, and then licking her lips side to side. Josh, I hope that everyone finds love and finds someone who will look at them the way Rashida Tlaib looks at Matt Gaetz. I think that's only fair.
I was hoping she was like licking off something maybe she had just eaten, right? Because I only do that before a sandwich, right? It's like, oh, and there's some, everybody gives us unconscious cues, especially when there's attraction in there, and that was
yeah. Well, this way, the brother lovers got room for another.
Did they get divorced?
I don't think they were ever. I don't know. She's with someone else. She's with someone else now, who's very obviously not her brother.
Well, that's good.
But the brother lover wants another.
Wow.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Can we? And when we put her face on there, we'd probably get sued.
We gotta start doing merch.
We do.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I don't know if Ilhan Omar is the one that
not Ilhan, Rashida Tlaib. It was. I was wrong. Ilhan Omar is the brother lover. I completely got those messed up. Oh.
Now I'm confused. Yeah. Either way, when she was like, it reminds me of that one guy that's on the end. It's like,
she's not the brother lover. I get them confused because they both hate America.
Yeah, that was Ilhan Omar, right? That was Ilhan.
That was Rashida Tlaib. Ilhan Omar's the other one. Ilhan Omar is the brother lover.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, there we have it.
Yeah.
Well, that just made.
People are gonna say, he just got them mixed up because they're Muslims.
Yeah, they're gonna say a lot of stuff about us anyway.
This is one of those moments where I talk faster than my brain could process.
Yeah, it's one of my biggest problems. I don't know, man. This whole thing is a mess. I mean, I'm glad it happened, but it just creates way, way, way too many headlines. That's the thing that bugs me. Nothing happens. What did I send you this morning that I was doing a Google search on like the worst house or the gavel holder in history, and it immediately goes to what just happened, right? I mean, it's even the algorithms that are out there are already pushing that narrative, so it's just narrative fodder, the whole thing. And no matter who gets chosen, there's gonna be all these negative stories. I mean, I couldn't even get something straight out of NPR today. Oh, did you see that the interim kicked old Nancy out of her out of her office?
Long overdue. It is kind of a dick move to do that when she's at Feinstein's funeral. I do think it's kind of scummy.
Yeah.
But listen, she never should have been there. Like she never should have been there. I see what they're calling her, the Speaker Emeritus.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember approving that. Like she's horrible. Like she's horrible.
McCarthy let her stay. I mean, she had an agreement like, yeah, you can stay in your office, but the intern walks in and he's like, you have 72 hours to get your shit out. We are rekeying the door. That's like sends a message, right? That's an FU. Like that's a real FU, isn't it? I mean, that's the way I see it professionally. I mean, if you're going to get rid of the Speaker of the House, well, you lose your office. I guess that was the trade-off, right?
Yeah.
That was the trade-off. But
yeah, no, it's I think that she should have been kicked out a long time ago.
Because that's a fancy ass office, right? I mean, those are really nice, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's, most congressmen and senators do not actually have offices inside the Capitol. Very few. It's like for like the whips and the majority leader and speaker of the House. Most of them have offices in the surrounding office buildings.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's very rare to get an office in the Capitol building itself.
It's a privilege. It sounds like really a privilege for.
Yeah, it is. It is, and Pelosi didn't deserve
it. Yo. Oh.
Well, we're almost out of time.
I know.
Any last things you want to talk about?
I just wanted to really show that, when you lock Nancy Pelosi out of a building, things get better. I'm sorry, I'm confused there. Her office, things get better. It's been a crazy week for politics. I never thought I would live to see a Speaker of the House removed. The decorum's never done it. It's never happened before. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought of all the things, it would be almost as hard to get rid of them as it would be the president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And could you imagine we have a year where you could actually have a removal of the president and the Speaker of the House? I mean, 2023 could be like the year for the weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then Kamala Harris comes in, and it could change the whole political landscape from here, Max, especially as we come down to the election. So that's what's been stewing in my mind about the whole thing, history, and what's going to happen because of it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I wanted to pick your brain on something because, as you know, we are no longer at Conservative Daily.
Correct.
But I got little birds that tweet when things happen, and I do still follow certain people just to see if there's anything going on. There's a little bit of a scuffle going on. I don't know if you saw this between Altman and Jovan Pulitzer, or
Jovan, really?
Jeffrey Filial. I get it confused because he goes by so many different names depending on whether he's in real life or on the History Channel. There's a scuffle because he's accused Altman and Professor David Clements of violating his patents in terms of looking at election ballots. There's this whole thing on whether, we covered this on the show when we were there.
I remember
whether
this.
a ballot is really filled in, or whether it's printed, or whether it's a Sharpie.
Yeah.
Jovan is making what to me is an absolutely bonkers claim that you can patent looking at a ballot under a microscope. It's very strange. And I started looking into this, what he's actually claiming he patented. And he's basically trying to patent a double-sided scanner. So he filed this patent in December 2021. I guess this is the right one. So this is a see-through apparatus receives a paper document. The see-through apparatus includes a first scanning element, a second scanning element, and a processor coupled to the first scanning element and the second scanning element. Each of the first and second scanning elements illuminate a respective side of the paper document, while the other scanning element captures an image. The processor detects kinematic artifacts on the paper document and determines that the paper document is fraudulent based on the detected kinematic artifacts. The processor also detects an alignment feature from the image capture from the first image or the second image and determines that the document is not aligned based on the detected alignment feature. Josh, He is trying to patent a double-sided scanner.
Yeah.
With a program built in to look at it and figure out what it means.
And they've got beef over this?
Yeah, because they are...
And when the beef is what about? Like
Altman and Clements are working apparently with different areas of the country on election integrity, and and they're doing this, like saying, hey, I mean, there's nothing controversial about saying, hey, let's look at the ballots.
Sure. We encouraged it.
I just find it very strange. And then there's a picture of, I pulled this off Twitter. I believe this is the actual thing. There's a picture of it. It's just a double-sided scanner.
It looks like one that's already been made.
Based on everything I'm seeing here, it looks like it's just a double-sided scanner. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Call me old-fashioned, though. If something is this important, I would think it's very strange to me that people who say they have the same goals and intentions would want to stop other precincts from inspecting ballots on a claim that they have actually patented what pretty much just amounts to a double-sided scanner, in my opinion, based on this available information. And I'm sure Jovan, a.k.a. Philly Yaw, a.k.a. eBay Sword, is probably going to take issue with this. I'm open to having my mind changed, but I look at this and I'm just like, one, it's stupid. Like, there's no way you can't patent a double-sided scanner. But two, if you actually want elections to be secure and not like taken advantage of, it seems like you would want every precinct to use scanners to inspect ballots. I don't know. I just wanted to get your take on it because it's anytime our old company gets dragged into the Twitter algorithm, I pay attention. Right. And sure. I look at this. It's also kind of weird because I still own a part of those companies. So like I saw Jovan's like demanding things about all these other companies that have nothing to do with this. Very strange. There's also apparently a controversy. Some people are alleging that Jovan Pulitzer, aka Jeffrey Filial, cannot pass a background check because allegedly, according to these people, he has been institutionalized. He is adamantly against it. I did ask him a question on Twitter: have you been institutionalized? Jeffrey Filial did not respond for comment before going to air today. It's so weird. It's all this is so weird. I just wish. I hate that we are here 3 years, 2.5 years after the election, and it doesn't seem like anything's been moved forward. Mm-hmm. And every time I turn around and look backwards, and say, okay, how are those guys doing that we just left? They're just fighting with each other. Like, if they fought against Democrats as fiercely as they fight against each other, we would have moved the ball forward.
For sure.
So every time I turn around, it's like, oh, no, I'm better. Oh, no, I'm better. I'm better. Meanwhile, it doesn't look like anything's actually getting accomplished.
I can only imagine that when you have a patent for something, you want to own that intellectual property. And if you want that to own something, you would sell something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I can't get it. I would. It's kind of like making a vaccine for some disease that affects the whole world. Why wouldn't you want to give away the vaccine for free?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's if it's the solution, give it away.
Well, he has every right to make money when he's actually invented something. Looking at this document, that doesn't look like an invention. That looks like someone took a double-sided scanner and is trying to patent the act of using it to detect fraudulent ballots.
And whatever those squares are that they're blocking, I mean, was it just a off-the-shelf scanner? Like, there's so many questions I would have to ask. Like, what is this? I don't know what's going on. So
I'll keep tweeting at him, and maybe one day he'll answer.
Is it good beef? I mean, is it good drama? Like for the sphere? Is it? I don't know. I'm watching.
It's very strange. I've sent you a couple things. It's very strange. It's very strange, as I'm like, you know me, I love a good legalese, like back and forth. I live for that. I went, I read one, and Pulitzer Jovan is like, this is how it's going to go. You've been defaming me. You're going to buy a Barrett 50 cal and you're going to put it in a trust, or you're going to put it in escrow, and then I am going to go to your gun store and you're going to do a press conference in front of your gun store's logo. You must give me the Barrett 50 cal. I'm just like that's what they're talking about. And I'm just sitting here just eating popcorn. And like, this is so weird.
I mean, I'd try to get a free 50 cal too, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
In America. Be like, let's throw in 1,000 rounds.
This me. Best I can do is a 22 caliber cricket.
That's right. Yeah.
you get a 4-year-old rifle.
That's an interesting beef. It just keeps cropping up. I think we just kind of use it, like you said, sit back and watch the popcorn roll.
I like getting your opinion on this because it always makes you a little uncomfortable.
It does, because I'm like, how do I navigate this?
Hey Josh, what do you think of this? What do you think of these people?
Right. The panic's real, man. I don't know, dude.
I laugh because I look at it, and I've said this before. Election integrity, absolutely important, right? We need to get this fixed, and we need to make sure that future elections can't be manipulated, can't be stolen.
Yeah.
Even just on the basis that the American people deserve to have trust in elections. Even if you can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there was fraud, without a doubt now, most Americans don't have true trust and faith in the electoral process anymore. Polling shows that sizable plurality of Americans think that fraud is likely or possible. We deserve a system where that isn't the case. Like even in Africa, even in sub-Saharan Africa, they dip people's finger in iodine to make sure they can't vote twice.
Yeah,
even there, they understand the need to restore trust in the system. If only for that, we need to move the ball forward on this issue and have more secure elections. Absolutely. But that can't be the only issue. We have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, right? So I look at that and I see these election integrity, I call them election integrity influencers. They are competing for a piece of the pie, and that pie is the total conservative audience. And the piece of the pie are the people who, all power to them, are really passionate about this issue. But the further we get from 2020, the smaller that piece of the pie becomes. Not because people are no longer interested in election integrity, but because they have to put food on the table, right? They care about abortion. They care about this issue, gun control, right? Other things in life happen. So the piece of the pie of the just election integrity audience gets smaller and smaller every single day, every single week, every single month. And as all of these people who have positioned themselves as the experts in election integrity issues, they start competing for that smaller audience. So it isn't that surprising that instead of fighting against the left, who's the one doing the stealing, they're fighting against each other. And that's always concerned me. I think it's messed up. And if we're going to actually move the ball forward, we have to be fighting the real enemy, which is the left. That's my piece. Any final takes on our old colleagues?
Well, a whole statement when you say it like that, it's like.
No, I'm kidding.
So the infighting, right? We're always so worried about what happened with the last election. We're not worried about what's happening with the next election. And the left doesn't care. If they lose an election, they don't try to go back and remediate it, right? They're on to the next one.
Yeah.
That's why they win football games.
Yeah. Mark Elias, Perkins Coie, lawyer who helped cover up stuff for Hillary Clinton. Last time he went around the country, filed all those lawsuits, got the election law changed. He just filed a lawsuit in, I believe it was Wisconsin. It was either Wisconsin or Minnesota. I think Wisconsin, about new election integrity measures that they've implemented. They're already doing it. So we have to look forward. And if anyone is spending more time fighting people who apparently are standing side by side with them, I don't know, maybe they're not the best standard bearer for the movement. Leave it at that. Well, that's it for this edition I'm getting played off like I'm at the Oscars.
That's what I do. I mean, I didn't want to bring in the hook.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, I'm just going to reach through the screen ring.
If you like the podcast, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. Also, the audio edition of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Amazon Music, Audible, all these great places. Links are in that description. Please do subscribe as we try and build out the show and get more advertisers. Check out the links. We do have some ways that you can support the show, both through affiliate links and if you want to donate. So feel free to check out those links, again, in the description. That's going to be it for this edition. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
And remember, everyone, the fight to take back the country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together. See you next time.
See you.